All right. Yes, 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 indeed. We have had a little faith and more to get to this point, made it through the inauguration, all holding our breath. And it was just a beautiful delight to get through that. And I know that so many in this room were going crazy and communicating on Twitter and on phones, because you should be so proud of yourself and ourselves in this group of getting to this day. 4 years, we had to have more than faith. It had to be hard work, sweat, tears, and just a lot of delight in between. A lot of, we've made some good friends in this room. So I'm so glad you're here. And we had to fit Dolly Parton in. Why not? What's a great video. So yeah, so I'm glad you're in the room, and the sun is certainly shining today. So we want to get to it. And before we do, I want to introduce my crew for the show. Behind the controls, we have the ambassador of Buzz, Stair Calhoun. Howdy, Stair. Thanks for making it happen. We're live on Facebook. So hello, everybody out there. And then, of course, behind the controls, Robin Zeph Warner. We have the show wizard. Thank you, Robin, for all you do back there. And of course, Louisa Borowski's here, Virginia Grassroots Coalition leader, she's our show anchor, doing the report out. So thank you, Louisa, for being here. And also my special friend, Krista Jones is here, show maker, always looking good, always bringing it. How are you?
Excited to be here. This is gonna be a great show.
Do you have your pearls on?
Yes, I absolutely have my pearls on and my sorority sweater. Yes.
I know. I have to figure out how to wear my pearls now, So I'm glad you're bringing it. I'm glad you're going to be co-hosting with me today. So then we have a lot of great guests today, because last week we talked about no justice, no peace, right? And accountability. And we have Gene Rossi in the room. Hey, Gene, are you here yet? Maybe not yet. We're okay. Okay, but Gene's bringing it for pardons and impeachment. But we also have Commander Reid. Commander Reid, are you here?
I am, Katherine. Hello.
I'm so glad. This is your first time on the show, so thank you for being here.
It is. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we'll get to you after Luisa's, oh my gosh, sorry to turn down my phone. That's terrible. We'll get to you after the legislative report, but I just want to say thank you. It's so good to see you again after such a long time, it feels like.
It has been. It's been at least 10, 11 months.
Yeah, I know. And you look good, so that's great.
Well, thank you.
All right, and then so the last part of the show, we will get to some change makers and I know we have some Alpha Kappa Alpha in the room. So we're going to really talk about sorority sisters and the delight of seeing the first vice president, woman of color, Asian descent. This is really exciting. Kamala Harris, what that means to a generation coming forward. And also we'll have an intergenerational discussion with Briana Sewell, who is a candidate in House District 51, and her mom. And we have Pooja Tantore all the way from England here, and her friend Grace Crangle. So thank you for being here. All right, so let's just get started. Louisa, why don't you take it away with the ledge report?
All right, thank you so much, Katherine. It is great to see everyone this week. As you can see, and as you've heard, the legislative session is underway in Virginia. This is one crazy session. Things are moving really, really quickly. And so I want to give you an update on where we are on some of our priority bills, and also remind you about some calls to action that we're going to have over the weekend. So first up, we have a few bills that have gotten out of committee and will be considered on the Senate and House floors. So we're excited about that success. Those bills are prohibiting guns in polling places. We have a reproductive health bill, which allows plans with abortion coverage to be traded on the state exchange. And we have our local food and farming infrastructure grant program was reported out of committee, but to appropriations. So they may have a little bit more work to do on that, but we're really happy to see the success of those two bills. Unfortunately, we also have some bills that have already been voted down. And these are bills that we need to keep pushing our legislators to understand and hopefully pass soon. So one of those is unfortunately our paid family and medical leave program. That has been a bill that went to a study. Usually after a study, we get a lot of good feedback and hopefully we're able to move the bill. And that was not the case this year. This is something that we're really going to have to continue to work hard on. And it's really unfortunate during COVID that we can't pass something like paid family medical leave. Then we have banning campaign donations from public service corporations. I know you guys have heard about this issue already on the Power Lunch. When you have legislators who are overseeing corporations as part of their job, when they take money from those same corporations during their electoral cycle, it's a conflict of interest. I think the challenge we keep facing is that individual legislators are thinking that we are worried about them specifically, and really this is an institutional issue. This is something that's about transparency, and this is something about accountability. The fact that we have no regulations in Virginia compared to so many other states that do is really unfortunate and hinders our democracy. So 2 important bills that we're going to keep working on. I've got calls to action for you guys this weekend. So if you've not already signed up for my call to action emails, please do so. I'll put my email in the chat afterwards. The calls to action are going to be on clean energy and climate, also on repealing mandatory minimums, and just getting a hearing on repealing the right to work, which right now has not even been docketed. So these are some important things we're working on. I want to remind you that Christina Hagan, who's on the phone with us, has been tracking all these bills in a spreadsheet. I'm going to put the link to it so you guys can track along with her. And then I finally want to remind you, we still have elections in Virginia. So we have a special election coming up in March. It will be in a pretty red area, but we have a really great Democrat running. I'm going to put her information in the chat. Maybe she's someone we'll have on a future Power Lunch, but get to know her. We need to help support Democrats running throughout Virginia. So very, very excited about that. So that is my update for the week. Thank you all for your continued activism and work. And please keep with the calls to action. We need your support. Thanks.
Thank you. That's our show anchor. Awesome. And you look awesome with that background. I love your background. So thank you for being a supporter of the show, Louisa. Well, look who I got. And following that wonderful report out, I'm sure you hear that the frustration of activists trying to understand the bills, and I get that. So I'm not putting you in the hot seat at all, David. But I wanted you to talk about how your session's going and some of the bills that you care about that you've been championing. And we've been talking about the one that I was interested in, a couple was, I know you're not the patron of the legalization dealing with marijuana, but I feel like it's a good economy piece, and it's a good fits into the criminalization piece of what we're working on also. So just speak to some of your bills and frame those up. And I just love to see what you're working on.
Well, thank you, Katherine, and thank you for everybody for having me here. This is really very exciting. I think I had been exchanging texts with Stair at one point in time and had said, you haven't had me on yet. And so now here I am. So I appreciate you and Stair for including me. And I have to start out by saying, I don't know that you realize this about my bio, but when you were doing the Dolly Parton intro video, at one point in time, like maybe 40 years ago, I was a country and Western DJ. And so I actually have been listening to Dolly Parton for the last 40 years, and she's not changed and she doesn't look any different. So it's just amazing. I need to get some of whatever that is, because I know over those 40 years I've changed. But it was really very exciting for you to start with that particular video.
Well, good. I hope you don't get maybe the big wig and some rhinestones. You could do that.
So apparently I am competing with another delegate. Mike Mullen likes to tweet at least once during the session that I have the best hair in the General Assembly. So fortunately, we're not doing a vote on that. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the legalization of marijuana, because I know that's one of the topics that you wanted to hear about. I also want to talk about the EV rebate legislation that I've been working on, because many of those are things that take a long time to actually develop. And these are things that, of course, we as Democrats have been advocating for, so for no kidding, for years. So I want to talk about the marijuana legislation on 2 different things. One is that I want to talk about from a criminal justice reform part, and then from an economic and a regulatory standpoint of view, because those are the things that we have to look at. So in 2020, we actually decriminalized marijuana and made it only a $25 civil fine. Now, one of the things that we've been working on since then, and it's been a little bit of a challenge to get done, because we do have to get things through both the House and the Senate. And sometimes things run into additional impediments in the Senate, and that's on expungement. And think about this, expungement is after you have actually been released, and we want to be able to seal those records so you can go on with your life. You've paid your debt to society, but we want you to be able to go on with your life without that kind of hanging over your head. So that's been a challenge, but we're still working on it, and we're still very much committed to it. The other thing that I've been bringing up with my colleagues that we also need to address sentencing review for people that are currently still in prison, because we as society have changed the standard on what we think should be the sentence for something related to marijuana possession. And therefore, if someone were put away before with a 3-year sentence, and now we say it should only be a $25 civil fine, then their sentence should be reviewed. And if there's not any other extenuating circumstances, they should be released, because society has now changed what we define as to being the crime and the sentence for that. So that's some of the stuff that we're still working on from the criminal justice reform standpoint of view. Now, on the economic and regulatory side, we have the great fortune right now of, I believe that there's about 15 other states that have already done something related to marijuana legalization. And there are two really models that stand out. One is the Colorado model, which was that basically they legalized it and then they figured out what they were going to do later. And then the other model, which is the Illinois model, which is that they said, we're going to legalize it, but we're going to put all the regulations and everything in place, and then we'll move towards that. So that's I think that's the model that we're moving towards. And the reason why I signed on to be a co-patron on Delegate Heretick's bill was because that's the approach that he's taking. And I believe that's also the approach that the governor's taking. Now, this could actually result in somewhere between $300 and $500 million in additional revenue for the state of Virginia. So that's all very good. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to be sure that we avoid the model that was used with medical marijuana, because that then gravitated to about, I think, 6 or 7 very large industrial providers. We want this to be something that is available to the small minority farmers, both, possibly in Loudoun County or up and down the valley or all across the south side of Virginia. This has the potential to be a cash crop that can replace what tobacco used to be, right, which would then bring economic development to other areas of the state that really have been languishing for decades. So that's the complexity of what we're dealing with. And those are the things, quite honestly, I've had some discussions with the current NAACP president out in Loudoun County and the past president. And these are things that I'm focused on, and these are things that they're focused on as well, is that, again, we have to make sure that small minority farmers have a first person involvement on this, and not just that they're a front for some other larger corporation.
No,
so that's what's going on with the legalization of medical marijuana. Not medical, legalization of marijuana, period.
No, I love that, because we need the small farmer, and this is Virginia, move from tobacco. That's really where I'm at. Also, the food to table industry, the whole thing. And then the rebate thing, I know that our coalition is really concerned about this piece of the Virginia Clean Energy Act and this piece with the car rebate. And we need, so you're pushing that, which I'm really grateful for. Can you just talk quickly to that? We only have a few minutes.
Yeah, sure, Katherine. And this has been a 3-year evolution. And this is the reason why I tell people that sometimes these things take longer to get done than you would have thought that they were going to. And I'll give you an example. I started out in 2018 with a piece of legislation that was just the classic tax credit for electric vehicles. And a tax credit is only going to be beneficial to those individuals who make enough money to then be able to declare this as a deduction later. And so that really then becomes kind of yet another wealthy tax credit. And so then I moved away from that. And we started having discussions over the next couple of years to the point where what we have now is something that is going to be a tax rebate that is actually made available at the point of sale. It would apply to both electric vehicles and plug-in electric vehicles, so that, because plug-in electric vehicles start at a lower price, it would also apply to both new and used. So used is something that has never been proposed before. And here's the real kicker. So let's just say that you're looking at a new electric vehicle. Then you would get a $2,500 rebate. If, however, your financial situation puts you at 300% of the federal poverty level or greater, then you would get an extra $2,000. So by doing this, what we're doing is that we're making a greater rebate available to a broader spectrum of people. And then for a used vehicle, it'd be $1,200, $1,250, and $1,000. So again, if you happen to be that, mom or dad who's, getting by and you need a new car, you could go to CarMax and be able to get,
Right.
$2,250 off on a used vehicle if you meet the right economic requirements. And we want to make this simple, because here's the thing, of the carbon that is put into our atmosphere in Virginia, 48% of it is still contributed by the transportation sector. And so we just can't have this be something that is going to only apply to wealthy people who can take advantage of a tax credit. So there's been a whole lot of effort and thought put into this.
Well, so we're trying to meet with, I know there's some Vivian Watts has some stopping points on this, and she's my delegate, love Vivian, and I'm trying to make a call to her to move her on this, and we really need to make this go forward. So there's some questions in the chat, and I know the biggest one, and we don't, just to frame it up about the campaign finance.
Yeah.
The vote, yes. I actually spent I was up till 1 watching that, you guys. How exciting is that? I was watching your 2 sessions on the campaign finance reform. But I know that that's a big question for people, and I think it'd be great if you just want to clear, just clear the air here and just tell us your thoughts on it, David.
Yeah, sure. And this is one of those things where I think both Delegate Simon and Delegate Sickles both highlighted, this is something that we're really committed to.
Right.
And it's something that we want to see done. And it's unfortunate that the bills that both Delegate Samira and Delegate Carter had presented just really weren't there yet. Because there were, it's got a lot of really good intentions, but I can tell you that it's like some of the things that Delegate Samira were saying, it's like that if we do away with corporate campaign contributions, we'll actually be able to get rural broadband everywhere. It's much more complicated than that. And I want to really highlight this because it's like when the Republicans were in charge and we were funding the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative, the amount that they were putting into rural broadband was, and it's really not even rural broadband because we have broadband issues, across the entire Commonwealth, but they were putting in like $2, $4, $9 million. In the last 2 years, we put in $49 million last year and $49 million this year. We have put more money into broadband initiatives in just, the last 2 years that we have been in the majority than the Republicans put in for the entire time that they were in the majority before.
Right.
So there's not this direct connection that you can kind of speak to. And I'll also highlight, it's like when people talk about access, and I'll just share this as a personal example. I have said to my staff that I will meet with anybody who wants to be able to meet with me.
Right.
And to highlight this, in January of 2020, I met with about 13 people here from the Virginia Civil Defense League. Those are the folks that are to the right of the NRA on guns. So I had 13 people here in my office. I met with them for 30 minutes. They've never given me any money. I'm not going to take any money from them, but they had access to me.
Right.
And so, again, part of this is about how you conduct yourself as a delegate. And likewise, on how money is spent,
Right.
I'm really very particular about no money is spent through my campaign that's not directly campaign related. I mean, that's just the way that I go about doing things. So the bills that Delegate Carter and Delegate Samira are going to get a full and fair hearing when we do this complete, when we get this complete joint subcommittee together so that we can look at all of the unintended consequences. And I'll give you another couple of examples.
Well, you know what? I hate to interrupt you, David.
Okay, sorry.
I think we could talk all day because you are very obviously level-headed. This is why we elected you.
Well, thank you, Katherine.
You're Commander Reid. You have a lot of integrity, and I know that there's other people. Maybe we've had a governor get in trouble with the Republican O'Connell. I'm blanking. Thank you. So there are these money issues that we see, and I think that's what we want. And that people have to run for office and have to raise $1 million for a delegate seat. I think that the whole system needs to be reformed. So I am interested moving forward, and I hope that you'll speak to the grassroots more about this, and we can figure it out. But I'm so grateful for your time.
No, I really do appreciate it. And
thank you.
Again, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate everyone's inputs. I mean, yes. I really do listen to it, and we're balancing a lot of stakeholder interest. And Again,
We'll get there.
I just can't say enough that, I mean, me and Delegate Simon and Delegate Sickles, we're all committed to being able to move forward on this issue.
Well, like you said, that's our job out here, is to hold you guys to the fire, and you listen to us and we listen to you, and that's democracy. So thank you, David, and have a great day, and thank you for coming, and we'll have you again.
Thank you very much. It's good to see everyone, and look forward to seeing you again soon in person.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Thanks, David. All right, let's get to it. Gene Rossi, attorney. My friend, Gene Rossi show, you have a long career in criminal justice, one of the best talk show hosts now, right? Great attorney. Where are you, Gene? We need to you.
Am I there?
Here you are. Hey,
hi.
We went a little over, but it was fun talking to David about all the importance of, I mean, law is important. This is what you do, right?
Yes.
People are accountable. So we're talking about first today, first vice president, first female, first president impeached twice. Let's hit it. So what are you thinking about the impeachment, the pardons, holding them accountable? I saw today in the paper that they're going to hold off on 3 weeks now or something with the pardon. So
yeah,
your insight.
All right, let's talk about impeachment. And for you people listening, watching, there are two statutes you should focus on. 18 USC 2383. That's the insurrection law. And the other one you should look at is 18 USC 2384. And the article of impeachment references either directly or indirectly both of those statutes. On January 6th of this year, as a former prosecutor for almost 3 decades, you have a pretty strong case that Donald Trump, on that day alone, violated insurrection and also sedition laws. Mm-hmm. With that speech that incited, that put verbal gasoline on a fire that he knew would explode. Yep. But it's here's why it gets worse for Donald Trump. It's not just what he said on January 6th in front of the White House. This mob was in front of the White House, right, and he knew what they were going to do. As a prosecutor, I would look at what he did and his staff and his campaign before January 6th. And after he lost the election, basically Saturday, January 7th at around 11:20 a.m., when they called it for Pennsylvania, that's when he realized, I lost. Forget all the bull about how he won by a landslide. Okay, he knew he lost. And he planned this attack for weeks. And you have to look at how were his staff, himself, his campaign, his PAC, how were they helping the Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys, the 3%ers, all those nuts, viral nuts that hate people? How did he help and aid and provide comfort? And if you go to the insurrection law, it has a wonderful phrase. If you give aid or comfort, if you assist any rebellion or insurrection that attacks the authority of the United States, you're guilty. And he did that. He did that. The sedition, that's easy. It's conspiracy to hinder or delay the execution of a law. That's sedition. Insurrection is against the government, really. Right. Sedition is trying to force or stop something. And what were they trying to do? They were trying to stop the certification or acceptance of the votes. Okay, so let's talk about impeachment. I think it's a slam dunk in terms of the elements of the crime, even though you don't need a crime. We got 2 of them. Right. But I got to say this, as a prosecutor who always tried to help the defendant and the defense counsel, because that's my duty. You can strike hard blows, but not foul ones. I think we should give Trump 3 weeks to prepare for the trial. Okay, the sky is not going to fall if we give him 3 weeks. So I don't know why the Democrats are not accepting that offer. He needs 3 weeks.
I need to make a call, Gene, because I agree with you, because I feel like there's a lot we can do in 3 weeks because we got a lot of stuff to do here. So,
yeah. The other thing, Katherine, here's the other thing. That's a great, we need to confirm people. We got some legislation. if it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the sky's not going to fall. And here's the other main reason. We went right to the House floor to impeach. There was no hearing. Trump didn't. Listen, I can't stand the guy, but he's entitled to some type of defense, even though it's not a criminal proceeding. Let him have his defense. I guess he's got Butch Bowers of South Carolina. How appropriate. But let him have his day in the sun. Let him get an attorney. Maybe he could bring Rudy out of retirement, even though he's a witness. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
so what is your thought? I mean, we do think the Senate will finally convict and I think maybe put him in a place where he can't run for office again.
I don't think he's going to be convicted. I think it's going to be close. And as they say, close is only counts only in horseshoe and grenades. It's going to be close. It's going to be, I predict, they're going to get 60 votes, but they need 67.
So what would it take, Gene? He just really kind of kills somebody out. I mean, like, what does it take to convict this guy? The attack on it was like 9/11 watching what happened to our country. I mean, that was incredible to see that happen. So
what's it going to take?
What's it going to take to get this guy?
It probably will take him killing somebody on Fifth Avenue. That's what it's going to take.
Well, he did.
Okay.
A lot of people, several people died in our democracy.
Yep.
So let's just move on to something else. So the pardons.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the pardons, but before we even get to that like at the last minute, he does these last minute pardons. Steve Bannon, for God's sake. I mean, all his criminal and crooks, and somebody that understands the criminal syndicate he's in and the crime boss he's in. I've never seen somebody do pardons of people that are just part of his crime network. They're not people that have been sitting in jail and have had served good time. So what's your insight on the pardon piece of this?
Okay, here's the pardon issue. The President of the United States has a full and almost unfettered authority to issue pardons, except with one big exception, and that came up in Nixon. You can't use a pardon as a quid pro quo. You can't use a pardon to silence a witness. And that would be the investigation I would conduct. Were any of these pardons issued to silence people or to placate them so they can't point the finger at you?
Right.
All right. And I haven't gone through the entire list, but, Steve Bannon probably has a boatload of dirt on Trump.
Right.
Paul Manafort got a pardon. Michael Flynn got a pardon. Those are things I would look at. You know why? Because when Bill Clinton left, and I was a big fan of Bill, I supported Hillary in 2008, but when he issued that pardon to Mark Rich, that looked really bad.
Yeah.
So they have the authority to issue pardons, but when it crosses that line from exercising your broad constitutional authority to becoming unseemly,
right.
Quid pro quo, then you have to investigate.
Right. Well, I'm so glad that you're able to come in today and tell us your perspective. I mean, I'm wondering about moving forward with the Republican Party itself, because this is the treason that was happening inside while people were, this voting to not okay Joe Biden's election. So inside on the floor, you have them doing the Republican Party doing that, and outside you had the mob. So it would be nice to be able to hold those Republicans accountable. But I want to thank you for coming, Gene. We're going to spin the wheel. I hope you'll stay for a prize. Robin.
I'm going to stay for a prize.
Well, good. I'm so glad to see you, and we'll have you back. And
absolutely. I love coming on.
You're a badass. Okay, Robin, let's do a spin of the wheel for our prize. And our prize is, I have our badass when we vote, we win hats. Let's spin it. Who wants? We have to.
Here we go. Can everyone see it? We got a lot of people in here today. Jennifer Grogan. Jennifer Grogan, are you here?
Okay, Jennifer, you here?
Jennifer, please put your name, say you're here in the chat, but we're going to go ahead and spin.
This other one.
We're going to spin again.
On too. I got the other one. This one's cool. You want to do one more?
Yeah.
All right, let's spin it. Now let's get to our next segment. It's going to be awesome, and we have a video to play too.
Diane Holland.
All right, Diane, just let me know which one you have. And we always have the leftover ballot underwear that everybody loves. All right, so let's do the video. Cue up for the next segment about Kamala and the inauguration.
Oh, wow, I can't think of anything more moving to share on a day like today as we're kind of processing and thinking about what everything means that's been happening over the past few weeks. So as we transition, I would love for everyone to put in the chat what you're feeling after this long 4-year fight. Please put that in the chat now. You know, for me, it's relief. And part of that relief is just the optimism that I have for these fearless activists who are, I'm not even going to say about to take the reins, because they're only in college and they've been leading for years. So I'd really like to talk to Pooja, Tantore, and Grace Crangle today about just the work that they've done and what it's been like to kind of come up as activists in this arena. So we'll start with Pooja. Just talk to us about some of the work that you're doing. And like I said, what does it mean to be an activist now at this moment in time?
Hi, everyone. I'm like slightly tearing up. I am so grateful to be here with you all. For those of you that don't know, I started with Network Nova back when I was running a nonprofit to raise young women to run for office when I was 15 years old. It started, I made a speech at a Loudoun County Democrats meeting, and Katherine and Stair and Robin all came up to me and gave me their entire hearts and souls to help do this thing that I wanted to do. And it feels incredible to feel that stuff come to fruition. Like, I am an Indian American female. I am first generation American. And I look at Kamala Harris and I see myself. Like, I remember being asked when I first started working in politics and was often the youngest person in the room, do you want to run for president one day? It feels like a question we ask a kindergartner. And in those days, I was the kindergartner in the room, and I am still the kindergartner in the room. And I'm so bright-eyed, but back then I was being crushed with this reality of like the Hillary loss. I was a fellow for Hillary in 2016 in Loudoun County, and someone asked me if I wanted to be president, and there are two separate videos. In one video, I said if the American people will have me, and in another video, I said I'm not sure if America's ready for a female of color president.
Wow.
And it was only within a matter of weeks that my answer had changed. I was so disheartened. And it feels so good to be just one step away from a presidency, you know, to be able to sit here and look at my future and my vision board and all the crazy things that college students do when we plan our future, because God knows we don't know what we're doing. I can put a picture up of the White House, and that can be, a real place that I deserve to be in. I have the right to be in, and that feels incredible. So I talk about activism now. I was really fortunate to move to Germany a few years back with the US State Department. So I conducted grassroots diplomacy where I was talking about American politics to high schoolers in Germany when I didn't speak any German. I now do speak German, and some of my closest friends are from the town that I lived in. But since then, I've really been invested in international grassroots engagement. So that means everything for me, from conducting diplomacy, having civil discourse about what American politics really looks like with people that are not American, as well as people that are Americans that have fled. I currently live in Scotland. I go to the University of St. Andrews, and there are so many students here who are just disheartened by the sight of what our country is going through. And it is my honor and delight to help register them to vote, teach them how to mail in their absentee ballots, to have these discussions with them that we can't let go. We can't flee. Like, the country needs us now more than ever. Recently this past summer, and I'm sure Grace will touch on this a bit, a big thing that Grace and I have always cared about, but really took action on this summer, was institutional reform about institutionalized and structural racism. And so we sat down to have conversations with leaders in the Black community and uplift them with our platforms because of the privilege that we have. And that was an incredible project. So right now it's everything from international activism to uplifting voices of other people of color.
So Pooja, just listening to you, and I know everyone on the Zoom call would agree with me, thinking about all that we've endured over the last 4 years, just hearing your fresh optimism and perspective and excitement about the future is enough to make up for all of that. So thank you for all of the great work you're doing, and thank you for leading us right into Grace. Grace, you know, when I saw that you were the co-founder of Allies for Black Voices, I really thought, a lot of youth are doing great work, but they're joining great activities. This is such a huge problem that our nation has faced for centuries, and you all are starting to tackle it. Talk to us more about just definitely the work that you're doing, but why you're doing that now. Why did you feel called to start an organization like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. A few years ago, I really didn't have much of an interest in politics or activism. I wasn't old enough to vote, and as a young white girl living in the suburbs, I wasn't consciously impacted by politics, so it wasn't something that I was super concerned with. And then Trump was elected, and he implemented the Muslim ban, and I saw the way that that impacted my Muslim friends. He was rolling back on a lot of LGBTQ plus protections, and I saw the way that that impacted my queer friends, and he was spewing such hateful, racist rhetoric, and I saw the way that that impacted my friends who are people of color. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was tired of sitting back and just watching it happen. And while politics didn't affect me in my position of privilege as a white person, it was hurting the people around me. And that's when I decided that I wanted to get involved. And so that's when last summer, a few of my friends and I, Pooja included, we got together and we founded Allies for Black Voices. And we hosted weekly Zoom sessions over the summer, and we invited Black speakers from all over. And we had social media influencers, small business owners, activists, and so many more. And we just listened. And these incredible speakers taught us so much about their experiences, and we learned about racism in the medical field, how to be a good ally, and everything in between. And it was such an incredible experience.
Well, thank you so much. And I know, Pooja, you're involved in this too, but thank you and everyone in your circle for all of this great work. As an African-American, definitely I thank you, because my dad lives in the suburbs of Burke, Virginia. And when right after the George Floyd murder, and when there were a lot more protests around the nation, he would call me and be like, oh my God, there's young white kids and older white people just walking down my neighborhood protesting with signs. And it was just such a change for a man who's grown up in the civil rights movement, who's kind of he was in the Navy, always searched for those allies. And so it is so exciting and fresh and enriching in 2020 and 2021 to see the changes that have been made. So I just really want to thank both of you for all of your great work. And we are so excited to see what you will do next. So thank you.
Thank you. And Krista, can I pipe in one really quick thing? I like to make a call to action like everyone else. And normally my call to action is super, super specific about canvassing and going out. My call to action today is bring your friends with you. Like Grace sat at my lunch table sophomore year of high school when we were buying cafeteria food and just talking about our math test. And she saw me in politics and she stood by my side through and through. And now she's here amassing like over 60,000 followers on TikTok for calling about the inmates on death row, for speaking up. And I could not be more proud of my beautiful best friend. And I think bring your friends with you, because this is so much more fun with my best friend by my side. So that's my call to action for you all.
That is an excellent call to action, excellent advice. Thank you both so much. So now we're going to speak with Briana Sewell and her mom, Brenda Jackson Sewell. Briana is a candidate for the House of Delegates for the 51st District. And her mom, Brenda, is a veteran and has just been so active in the community. And we're excited to bring them on now. They are both members of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, which I'm sure as many of you have learned over the past, since Kamala Harris, since she started running, is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I'm wearing my Zeta sweater today for the theme, but I want to start off, when we're talking with the top, thank you, welcome Brenda and welcome Briana. So when we think about the next generation, and the purpose of this segment is really to talk about, have an intergenerational conversation, the word that comes to mind for me is legacy. And anyone who is familiar with Black sororities and fraternities understand that concept of passing on to the next generation. So I'd love for both of you all just to start off by talking about not only how Kamala Harris's win is so important for you as AKAs, but also the concept of legacy in our communities.
Yeah, do you want to start with your story? Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me. Each and every day I lose a little bit more of myself and become Briana's mom. So thank you for saying I'm Brenda Jackson Sewell. And that's really important. But let me tell you what's more important. Growing up in Selma, Alabama, during the 60s was quite trying. And while I won't go through all of what happened, I will tell you that as a result of what was going on, we believed that we could do anything. We no longer had to only be school teachers, because that was one of the areas where it was very easy for us to get educated. And there were schools, there were colleges specifically for that. At some of the HBCUs, they focused on nursing and training to be a teacher. So we realized that we could do other things. And out of my little town of Selma, Alabama, we have a congresswoman whose last name happens to be Sewell. We have lawyers, doctors. We have any and every education that you can possibly think of, because there were those of us who were taught that we could be anything and everything. So if I can sort of paraphrase something that is from the Bible, I'm going to say, I would have fainted if I had not believed that during my lifetime, there would be a woman in the White House in a position other than the First Lady. So that brings me to say, I am so excited that we have a woman who has broken through the ceiling and who is there to be of service to all mankind, which brings me to our sorority, of which we are the first Greek-lettered organization of African-American women who are college educated, and we are here to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards. And those are the things that you will see coming from Vice President Harris, as well as all members of the Panhellenic Council. So Krista is not the same sorority I am, but she is my sister. When we join these organizations, we join them for life, and we join them to be of service. So you will see us out there working. You may not always recognize us because we don't always identify ourselves with whatever group we're with, but during the times that we do, you will find that we are there because we want to service mankind. And we are 300,000, more than 300,000 strong worldwide. And we like to party, but that's not the only thing that we do. We truly serve. And I believe that going in with that foundation from AKA, being from an HBCU, a historically Black university or college, Howard University, and also being an AKA, she will bring along those characteristics that are really important for us, and that you all will see it come through.
Well, thank you so much, Brenda. That was just an excellent synopsis of the meaning and significance of Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, as well as AKA. So Briana, can you talk about how AKA, or just the idea of this community and legacy, has shaped your decision to run for office for the 51st District?
Absolutely. So growing up, being able to have a mother who I was able to witness working in the community, and realizing that she's always taught us the importance of being of service to others. So whether it was the fact that my parents both grew up in Selma, Alabama, and they recognized that we weren't just going to celebrate or accept the fact that people were being classified as other, but instead we were going to work to make sure that everyone felt equally represented under the law. Whether it was my parents' commitment to the military and the fact that they fought for this country that sometimes didn't represent them or the values that had been instilled in them, and the fact that they challenged my brother to be more and see more and to live beyond self and to view beyond self. And then to grow up as a little girl, seeing that there's this group of phenomenal women who would gather in pink and green And they would go out and register people to vote. If they were in a social setting, these were the same women that my mother would lean on. Whether it was a trying time in one of their lives or a joyous celebration, these were the people that my mother would call. And to recognize in every component of life that this was the people that were in her corner and helping to elevate her on a different platform is something that I really wanted to be a part of. Something that we frequently say in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is that we lean upon the shield. And by that, I think of the ivy leaf, which many people may think of when they see someone decked out in salmon pink and apple green. And that the strength of the ivy leaf, that is its symbol. It's this enduring strength, the enduring strength of sisterhood, the enduring strength of community, and just this enduring strength of leadership, no matter how tough. So leaning on the shield is the idea that even when you feel that you can't even stand alone, as my mother referenced earlier, there's someone behind you who is lifting you up and making sure that you realize that this is possible. And they may dream bigger than you do for your own dreams and your own ambitions. And that's something that we really do see in store Kamala Harris, our sister. And it's one of those things that I really am taking with me as I run for office. I got lost in the moment of watching her take the oath of office, and it's during her swearing in ceremony. And for me, I really hope to embody those same values of being of service to all mankind by simply just taking on a new title.
Well, thank you so much, Briana. And so as we close, what are some quick action steps that we can do to support your campaign?
Thank you so much for asking that question. Don't think that we can lose sight of the fact that we're all operating in a global pandemic, and this campaign cycle is going to look very different than those in the past. And I would simply say that making sure that people stay abreast of the issues, elevate and utilize social media to acknowledge candidates, recognizing that the pathway to 51 for the Democratic majority comes through the 51st district, and realizing that we really do need to invest early in candidates and their campaigns. You can learn more about me and why I'm running for office at sewellfordelegate.com. And I am just excited to have all of the grassroots support possible as we begin this journey.
Well, thank you so much, Briana, and thank you so much, Brenda. You know, I think when a lot of people on the line, when we hear the word sorority, certain things come to mind, but I'm hoping that this few minutes with Briana and Brenda has kind of taught you that the Black sorority, or the whole Divine Nine, it's much deeper than that. And I'm sure you'll see a lot more coming from Vice President Harris on that as well. So thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Turn it back over to Katherine. Oops, she's on.
I'm here. So that was just, I have to say, I don't think I really cried these last couple of days. Today was really got tears of just hearing my young friend Pooja and her friend Grace, so inspired by the young women they're becoming. That means so much. I'm sure all the people in this room, their heart just was just like, that really got to see that generation, to see that hope, to keep pushing up that hill, and then to see our other friend Briana running for office with her mom. What an accomplished mother, a wonderful mother. We know her mom, and the sorority sister. So in my lesson, I think, takeaway is the friendship. Bring a friend along. And that sorority sister kind of feeling is to be there for each other, rely on that shield. I just love it. I think that, that's so important. That's how we got where we are now, just relying on each other. So thank you to all our guests today. Coming into the room, because we'll do our ending announcements is that, one, we love to have you in the room. I'm so glad to see that we have some people that have put their backgrounds. If you look around the room and you see show backer behind one of the guests, it's because they're backing our show, and that means that they have decided to that they love the show, and they're putting forth some early money to help us do the programming. So thank you to our early backers. We love you. Thank you so much for bringing it so we can bring the show to you. And then we'll put that link in the chat. If other people want to become a backer, you can learn more about it when you click on that. And then after this winter season, we won't be doing the early backers anymore. We'll just be having a simple subscription kind of membership idea. But this program will always be free every Friday, always be here for each other. But we just want to make sure that we we have the resources to continue. So thank you. So thank you to the guests. We learned about today, the law is important. We must keep pushing up that hill. So thank you to David Reid, Delegate Reid. Thank you to Gene Rossi doing his work, knowledge around the impeachment. We have to hold these people accountable. And then I know with the delegate, also the law is so important, what we're fighting for and what the change we're fighting for. And we don't always get what we want, but we will keep holding people to the fire for sure on that. So the Badass Boutique, my friend, do you want to do a spin for a prize? One more, Robin? And do you want to do a spin or do you want to show the boutique?
We're going to show the beanies and encourage people to, we've got these wonderful beanies. It's cold outside. Stair, come on the screen and talk about your swag.
Okay, thank you, Robin. So unfortunately we didn't put up a slide for the Kamala stuff. So we still have the tote bags with Kamala. We still have, you can see her featured there, and we've got some t-shirts. So do check on the Badass Boutique for this. And let's have a spin, and anyone can get a Kamala tote bag.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, you do want to do a spin. Okay.
Do a spin.
Yeah, do a spin.
Tote bag.
All right, can everyone see it? Here we go. Robert D.
Robert, are you in the room?
Are you in the room? We're going to do one more. Robert D, if you are, respond in the chat. Here we go.
Yeah, one more.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Robert, you got a tote bag.
And Susan Potter.
Oh, yay, my friend from Virginia Beach.
All right, Robert and Susan. All right, so we'd like to, again, thank all the guests, Briana, Mom, Grace, Pooja, David, and Gene, and of my lovely team here. But we want to end with a special poem. And of course, stay for the after chatter if you want to. After the poem, we will definitely stick around and kind of chat a little bit. So please stay in the room. To end your show, to celebrate the VP Kamala Harris, the first at everything, the first Black woman, the first woman of Southeast Asian descent, we're going to share that powerful poem, The Hill We Climb, by Amanda Gorman, the first National Youth Poet Laureate, delivered so eloquently at the inauguration. So we're gonna show that, and just stick in the room with us. Thank you for being here. Let's enjoy this beautiful moment.